And I'm gonna mute. Yeah, so you're muted on the stream, just double checking, and we're going live. And we're live. Hello everyone, welcome to the Crosslink channel, welcome to our third stream this year. And I'm really happy to have everyone join. We're probably having around 12 people currently on the stream, probably a few more joining in a few minutes. And the first thing I'd like to do today is to welcome our guest, Pedro Gonçalves, from the 3D Print Tuga TV channel, and he's from Portugal. And yeah, please give him a warm welcome. And I'm gonna switch over to our split screen. I hope you can see him now. Welcome, Pedro.
Hello,
Introduce
Daniel.
yourself.
How are you, Daniel? First of all, I would like to thank you for this invitation to participate in your live stream. I'm very. I have been following your videos long time ago, and I'm very happy to be a part of one of them. It's a pleasure for me being here.
Yeah, thanks for coming. I think a few people probably have joined our little joint live stream. I think it was 2 weeks ago, or was it? Was it 3 weeks ago already? It was maybe a lot of fun. It was really a lot of fun joining you on that. And if anyone wants to watch your channel, I think we should also put a link to your channel in the description later, so they can check you out.
We have a little bit name here.
Yeah.
Right
so if you want to look for his channel. Yeah.
Our channel is speaking in Portuguese, but you can always watching our channel. No problem. You are all welcome.
Yeah, so for everyone, it's a Portuguese channel, and I think this section that we were talking in English, still everyone could understand probably. And I have a few questions to you, because when I joined your live stream, it was really very interesting to see how many people are coming to your stream and that you have a great community. So maybe just talk a little bit about how you've built this community and what was your motivation to do live streaming opposed to just uploading videos. So maybe tell us a little bit about that.
Okay. Our channel, it's a support channel for our Facebook community. Call it 3D Printing Tuga, where we are weekly bringing guests from our community to talk a little bit on our live stream. The purpose of this channel is also to create a group spirit, creating friendships between the members and of the community, and discuss various topics in the area of 3D printing. And we are bringing people related 3D printing like Daniel to talk about in our channel also. And having some fun and pleasure to make streams and share some information to our users. And that's it. It's the most part. It's bringing information and have some fun on our channel also.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. I was quite impressed by the community members, because they were showing off some really awesome prints, and I think some of them are really artful. So they also are very good in painting these prints, which was amazing. Really amazing to see that. And maybe we should also ask people on this channel to show off their prints. I think we never did. We never had this kind of community event. But yeah, to see. I mean, I'm really happy to join forces there. And can you still? I'm just curious.
We encourage our members to show their prints on the live streams. When you show your work, you encourage other people to make that kind of work too. And this is what I want to promote another people starting painting, starting printing, starting do more prints, encouraging people have this hobby fun. This is what I looking for. It's bringing more people, bringing more knowledgement, bring more people like Daniel to share your information on our channel. Uh, I think this is the most important to share information between the people and have some respect, and other members can share it without any problem. This is, I think this is the most important, is share information for having more knowledgement to making great prints and print and painting. I think this is the most important.
Yeah, you're right. And sharing your knowledge is really one thing, and then also sharing this kind of community together. I think it's a lot of fun.
Yes.
From your point of view, I mean, if someone, you probably have a broad spectrum. At least what I saw is like there's beginners and there is super advanced users who are really, really good at what they do. If you would have to give some advice to someone today, how to start with the hobby, what would be your recommendation for a completely newbie to this hobby?
What I recommend, first of all, it's 3D printing is for anyone who likes with work with tools, because during the learning process, you will have to make some maintenance and have to know some features of the machines to put all together, all parts together, and make great prints after this. If you don't like work with tools, 3D printing is not for you, because we have to know most everything about the machine to have great prints, and invest in knowledgement, how slicers work. Is the most important thing for me. It's how the slicers work. Any feature of slicer is very important: retractions, printing speeds, etc., etc., etc.
Okay, so let's say someone is starting and he just got the new printer and he somehow managed to build it. Like, because you were talking about slicing, I think it's something that is it's easy to start, and then you get some sample files on an SD card. But like when it gets to print new stuff, what is the biggest challenge there to get something sliced and really get it printed?
I think the most biggest challenge is to know the right settings for your machine, like retractions, retraction speeds, and temperatures for any kind of filaments. I think this is the most important to bring good prints on your machines. If you don't know about the temperature printing, your filament will be damaged on the printer, and doesn't bring any kind of print. The first feature that the user must know is the right temperatures on the bed, on the nozzle. It's the most important thing to have a great print.
Yeah, I guess that is something that you're also discussing in your Facebook group a lot, yeah, where you probably support each other. So I really appreciate that, and it's really good that you have this kind of community. What was your initial like motivation to start the YouTube channel?
Well, Daniel, our motivation is to energize our Facebook groups. I think this is the most important, is encouraging people, get energy to the people, get more involvement with your members, your community, and explain anything. It's very important. You share information. One more time, it's very important to share information. If you share information, you will get more information back. It's very important for my members on my group, Facebook community, but it's also important to me because I learn lots of things with them. They post any kind of problems, and I will see how they solve the problems, and I learn with that the experience of them. It's very important to get that feedback from the users. You learn every day. I will learn every day with this community.
Yeah. That's great. I think that's the same experience that I had. That is like you're always learning, and 3D printing is like you think you know the stuff that you're doing, and then the next day you encounter a big problem, and then I also have to reach out into the community to fix it and search for the resolution. And yeah, it's even if you making content, I think making content is also something that teach me that nothing is forever. So you make a piece of advice, or you write a blog post, or you make a video, and then a week later it's completely invalidated because someone is changing it, and someone like Martin Firmware, I think that's the best example, right? So things have changed so much.
Yes. Our community are growing so fast. 3D printing in Portugal, it's growing so fast. We have more than 100 members per week. I think this is growing so fast, and more people will come, and more information will be shared for everyone. I think this is the most important thing. That's why we doing here, share information and get the printers, desktop printers for everyone. Make a great prints at home. It's a very very important thing. We are encouraging that.
I think last time we talked about the use cases or why people are using 3D printing. So what do you think in Portugal, besides printing these like awesome figures and people are really being artful, what is the most important thing that people use it for? What do you think? Like I think we were talking about the face masks or something like that. Or is this something that's really still a thing in Portugal?
No, Daniel. Right now we don't print face masks, but the most of the people starting with the face shields. Yes, it's right. At the least last year, but that people that starting printing face shields right now are not printing face shields, but are encouraging other people to buy printers. I think this is the most important thing. Community brings new members with new printers, and came to make a bigger community. And other members bring to the community, and we are growing. We are growing every day.
That's
members
great.
are showing their prints to another people that don't have printers, right? And another people say, "What? He have a printer? Yeah, let's buy a printer too," and influencing another people to buy printers. And I think this is very important to 3D printing right now.
Okay,
it's the people that share information and show the prints. Yes,
that's absolutely the best. That people are helping each other and encouraging each other to do to great stuff. And yeah, great community you have there. Maybe
Thank
one
you.
last question.
Okay.
Looking at the time, what do you think in your community? What is the printer that is mostly used?
Oh, that is a difficult one. No, it's Ender 3 that we have here. Ender 3 Pro, Ender 3 version 2. I think is the most used printed, not in Portugal, but in the world. Yeah. I think is the Ender 3 from Creality.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so many clones out there also, but I totally agree.
Yes.
It's probably the most used printer. We'll have another printer today, which I'll unbox and build. but it's very similar. It has a few features that probably the Ender 3 doesn't have, but it's still, yeah. I think it's a flood of clones and it's never ending, it seems like.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a great printer. Why not? 200 euros here in Portugal, you have a printer. I think
Yeah.
it's a good start
Absolutely.
with one start printing, and then through 200 euros, it's a great buy.
Any plans to go into the SLA printing? So with resin?
Yes, I have SLA printers too. Not only FDM. I have SLA printers too. But I'm most aficionated on the FDM. I'm hypnotized with the nozzle printing.
Yeah.
And I spend hours watching nozzle printing because
yeah, I hear you.
I have a lot of fun. I have a lot of fun making prints and other stuff here.
Yeah. I mean, I'm also just starting with SLA, and I was a little bit, I was hesitant to start because I've heard so many things about the process being super nasty and the materials being dangerous, and so I've got my protection mask now and all that. But what's your opinion on that?
Well, Daniel, it's not so. In my opinion, it's not so dangerous like the people say. If you take care, if you use gloves to protect your skin, your clothes, I think there is no problem.
Okay. Yeah, good to hear. I'm just curious because I'm also like, yeah, this was maybe the one reason why I was a little bit pushed back and say, oh, this sounds really nasty, but let's try it.
It's a little bit more nasty than the FDM. It's a real, but the prints are different, the quality are different, but I have more fun with the FDM. It's true. I really appreciate the SLA, but no, I more fan of SLA.
Okay. I have a question here from our chat.
Okay.
We probably have some questions, but this one is actually, I think it's an interesting question. What will be the next level on 3D printing in the future? So, do you have an idea?
Well, more. I think that the machines will be more easy to work, to set the settings, because we have today too many settings to have a great print. Who startings right now will be difficulty to set or to know all settings to have on the machine. Maybe in the future, just put a card and select. You will have internet here, and choose the model that you want to print. Choose the print, and the print will come on the build plate. I think will be the next step on the 3D printing.
Yeah, or maybe do it on your smartphone and just say, when I come home, the print is already done or so. Yeah,
yeah,
that would be.
I think so.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's the biggest hurdle. That is the software and the settings and slicers and all that. I think you can work yourself somehow into that and be at least average good, but it's always challenging. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, food printing. Food printing, yeah, that's a good one. If we can at some point print our food, maybe. There's chocolate printers, I know at least.
Yeah. Stick. I want a stick. Yeah. That's it, a stick.
Really nice. Okay, Pedro, thank you. Thank you for joining. It was really fun talking to you, and you have a really great community. And I wish you a lot of growth. I think people are really interested in your group and in your community. And yeah, I'm happy to have you here again at some point in the future.
Thank you, Daniel.
Yeah, definitely probably going to steal some of your idea. Maybe I think the best one is really that people show their awesome prints. I think that's a super crazy thing, that they have so much talent and they are really artful. So that was really impressive, even though I didn't understand a single word
Yeah,
because we were all
but
talking Portuguese, but it was really
now,
super awesome.
now we will stop 2 weeks to review our program, our live stream. In 2 weeks, we will be back with new ideas.
Great to see. I'm really curious. Hero. Okay, thank you. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Daniel. It's
Good
my
evening.
pleasure being here.
Bye.
Bye, bye. Thank you.
Okay, so, and we're back in the main channel. Yeah, it was really good to have Pedro here. I wanted to have him here because he is such a great community built. It's only Portuguese speaking people, but that's, I think, for most Spanish, if I'm not wrong, people can also join that. So, really great channel. So we have some people here on the live stream, currently 24 viewers. I want to welcome everyone again who's just joined. Last time, I think I don't need this anymore. Last time it was a private stream, so we had it only for our patrons, and then we opened it up to the Discord channel. And I think it's, since there wasn't so many people on the stream, I'm pretty positive about having it open for everyone, because we have then we can have some more discussions and more interaction. And yeah, hello to Court, hello to Slayer, hello to all the moderators, and really thank you for joining. You have to know, running this kind of channel, and especially the Discord channel, I can't really do this alone anymore, and there's awesome moderators, and I really want to thank you again, guys, for helping out and really driving the community, helping people to get questions answered, because really without you I couldn't support this in that at that scale. And I'm always happy if people want to help out, and especially help other people answering questions and just being there. And the same today. Super happy that everyone is here, and super happy that we have quite a lot of people on the stream. I'm not sure how good the quality of the stream was while we did the Teams call. We had some technical issues to get it started, audio issues, and next time we will probably use a different program, something that hopefully works better in terms of the video quality, at least of the video quality of the person that's calling in. That was probably a little bit of an issue today, because if you use something like Skype or Teams, the stream has to go back and forth multiple times, like to this computer and then back to the internet, and the stream that we send to YouTube is going out in the same direction. So it's a little bit of a bandwidth issue probably to do this in this way. Yeah, Pedro was a little blocky. I agree, and I shut down everything I could, but it wasn't getting much better, I guess. So next time we're gonna use StreamYard, and hoping that this is going to improve. So next thing on my list, and I have to dig it out quickly, is I wanted to, and I will announce the winner of the giveaway that we had 2 weeks ago, I guess. And let me quickly bring it to the screen. So just let me see which one is the right one. Here, this should be it. So congratulations to Asger Vestbjørk from Denmark. So as I told you, I've drawn the winner 48 hours after I released the video. where I've announced the Elegoo Neptune 2 giveaway. So congratulations to Oscar to winning. And yeah, initially I wasn't planning to unbox this device because it was sent to me without any notice by Elegoo. And then I think a few days later they reached out after I've pinged them and told me, yeah, actually we forgot to tell you that we are sending this. Can you at least show it? So I was like, okay, we're gonna show it and we're gonna unbox it and hopefully print something today, and then we're gonna pack it back into the box and send it to Oscar. And I mean, the good thing for him is that at least we just tested the printer before we sent it to him, and if it's broken, then at least he doesn't get a broken device. Hopefully, then we have to figure out how to fix this. Okay, so I think we'll just start, and while we do this whole build, just bring up the box now. While we do the build, probably can still continue to answer some of your questions. Yeah, and Pedro is also in the chat. So yeah, if you can stay a bit, then that would be awesome. So let's bring up the box. So here we got it. So this is the box, and I will start with the build. And to be honest, I have no idea how this works, so we'll really have to work through it. And I hope you will join me. And in the meanwhile, if you have questions, let's talk about it. So because at least I've checked out some of the specs of this machine, and yeah, I think it has some unique features. At least that's what my impression is. That it is not just it's just not a simple clone of the Ender 3. It looks like a little bit like a Ender 3 clone, but it seems to have some additional features at least. So let's see how we can show this best. Probably this should work. So what's in the box? Okay, seems that this printer has a removable plate, but it's fixed with these paper clips, which is, yeah, I mean, is this something that is still a thing today? Probably not. So let's make sure nothing gets lost here, and let's get the things out. At least things are packed in well, but also quite sticky. Okay, let's bring out the biggest part first. Okay. So it's gonna get a little bit messy. So okay, we have probably the counterpart for the X, some frame part, and nothing else. Here, this is, I mean, if you know the Ender 3, you probably know what this is. The extruder, and seems to be a filament sensor. And yeah, this is the X carriage. What else? A manual that we probably need, because I have no idea how this printer is going to be built. And motors. What else? A huge, yeah, there's a little bit of tools in here, some sample filament. Actually, I don't really understand why the sample filament is still in these kind of boxes, because to be honest, you can't really print with these. They're always falling off the filament holder. So I think it is just that they do something so that there's something in a box, and that's the reason. But honestly, they probably use a separate spool. Okay, seems to be another, probably the Z-axis end stop, and the tools. Here we have the filament holder, also something that looks familiar and still like on the Ender 3 cables. Here we go with some frame parts and the power supply. What do we have here? Okay, 24 volt, 360 watt. Looks nice. And that should be everything. So we have some free space now. Okay, maybe a question to you. What do you know about this printer? Because I just know a very few things about this one. Let's have a look at some questions. Okay. Let me just go through the chat a bit. Paul Milfield says, Daniel, you're the reason I learned compiling Marlin. Yeah, yeah. This is great to hear. I think Marlin, yeah, I think when I started the channel, did a lot of videos about Marlin firmware. That was really a pain, especially on the ANET A8. I remember it was super painful to get it installed. No bootloader. This looks a little bit. Okay, this needs to be fixed. But yeah, I mean it's probably not an issue. These knobs somehow came off, or they were never fixed. So I think I have to get them onto the screws here. Not so easy, actually. Francisco says, for what I've seen, it's a very interesting features and costs less than the Ender 3. What about the cost thing? I don't know actually what this printer costs. If it's actually cheaper or more expensive, I would probably guess that it's very similar in terms of the pricing. But maybe someone of the moderators can check what this printer currently costs. At least I know that this is currently not available on Amazon. At least I didn't see that this is currently available. So getting this on. So it seems very similar, at least from what I see for now. $160 on Amazon. That is actually quite interesting. 160. Well, I think the Pro, the Ender 3 Pro, is about 200, and if this is comparable, then 160 sounds really interesting. Okay, so I think I got it fixed, at least to the point where I could start some kind of leveling. Good. So what I think, although this looks very similar to the Ender 3, I'm gonna have a look at the manual and see how this works. Cord says he still has the sample filament from his ANET A8 from like 3.5 years ago. Yeah, that's yeah. I always throw it away, to be honest. I think the quality of these sample filaments is always an issue. I mean, we can check it out, but they are brittle. Sometimes they are also broken. I think I had once a printer where the sample filament was there was just hundreds of pieces in this little box. So yeah, not really the best quality. Elmo says, will there be any day an SLA printer to stay in the living room when you are printing? What do you think? Yeah, I mean, you can buy professional SLA printers nowadays. The question should be more, will there be affordable SLA printers? Because there is printers that you can run in your living room, probably just too expensive for the average person. They have filters and like all kinds of features that make it probably super silent, and also you will not smell anything. And yeah, like for example, a dentist will have these kind of devices, and they will be super expensive. But yeah, until we see this coming to your living room, yeah, I don't know. I think there are some improvements. Some of at least the entry level SLA printers, they start to implement these kind of at least very simple basic filters. I don't know how effective these filters are. Probably there needs to be some improvement in the future. But to be honest, I get a lot of questions, like people asking me in my reviews that how loud is the printer? I think it was on one of the Android reviews or another printer. The question was, how loud is this printer? Do you think I can run it in my bedroom or in my living room? I think one person asked to run it in my bedroom. To be honest, even if an FDM printer like the Ender 3 would be super silent, I wouldn't run it in my bedroom, because still, I mean, these printers are they still create some fumes, like even though you can't see them, but you can still smell it, and it's not healthy to be in the same room when you run a printer. Like, it doesn't really matter if it's silent or not. I wouldn't want to be in the same room sleeping when an FDM printer is running, because every material that you might be using is a little bit different in terms of the chemicals that it will produce, microparticles, and there has been some measurements, like the amount of microparticles, if an FDM printer is running in the same room, it's going to increase a lot, and so on the long term, it's not healthy. So it doesn't matter how it's silent. So I think this is a little bit overrated that printers are silent, because then, yeah, I keep them in my basement. I'm not working here. So that's what I do. Okay, what else do we have in terms of questions? Yeah, so a printer was originally this printer here, the Neptune 2, seems to be have launched around 160 and now 220, and it is not available at the moment, probably because it's so cheap. So at some point it's probably gonna become available again. Yeah, it's an Ender clone. Yeah, seems so. So let's have a look how we build this, because we want to get going, right? Cautions. Yeah. So where is the start? At least we have a packing list. Machine installation. Yeah, I usually don't read the manual when I do a review, but now I should probably have a look. So we need the screws. We're back with the screws. And probably checking out. I think it's not done yet, but I'm still working on the Q5 review. And the thing with the Q5, that was actually the most interesting part, that it only has one type of screw. Right? There's really only one screw type and only one hex driver needed to assemble this printer. Which, yeah, I mean, if you look at this, just to show it to you, just if you are used to building Enders, at least if you've done this already, at least Creality puts every screw in a separate bag, right? So these are just little details. I mean, it's not a big thing, but here it seems to be that all the screws are in one bag, so you have to sort them out first, I guess. Still, it's written down what they are, like what sizes they are. But I mean, that's just one thing. That's just one little detail where I'd say, okay, you can put it in one bag, but you can also do it differently, right? You can at least put them in separate bags, or you can just have one side of the screw, if you will. So we figure it out. One is this. This is probably the longest one. This seems to be the longest one that we need first. Let's see. Yeah, exactly. So we need 4 screws here, and we need vertical extrusions. Andreas asks what price this printer is. So the Neptune 2 seems to be that it's currently around $200, $220. But you have to find a place where we can actually buy it. At the moment, it's sold out. But this is, I mean, this can have multiple reasons probably. You know, I always hate this. Who else hates these kind of packagings? Like where you have to find, I mean, do we need to find the beginning or do we just use the knife? What do you say? Should I just try to open it carefully or should I just cut it open? What do you think? I'll just cut it open. Yeah, good one. I'm using the knife. I'm always trying. I'm not used to it yet, to be honest. This is my first real pocket knife. It's not actually a pocket knife, but it's my first knife that I really got that's reasonably sized. But yeah, I think plastic packaging is always a pain. And if anyone can come up with a better solution to package stuff without plastic, I'm always happy about that. Okay, so we got the vertical extrusions. One thing about these is probably you have to figure out which one goes to which side. But this is written here. The end with the long holes. The end with the long holes. Long holes or big holes? The end with short holes. Okay, so probably have to turn it. So not doing anything wrong here. So we have these. This is the right one. And this seems to be the left one, and it's okay. This goes like this, and this one is so holes facing to the inside, and all of Daniel's previous pocket knives were bigger, much bigger. But I think the only bigger knife I had was really some kind of, I think it was 30 centimeters long, and it was actually for cutting wood. So, and I think I never used it. I think I bought it when I was like 18 or so because it was cool, and then I never used it. Probably inspired by a famous movie where someone pulls out the knife from, like, you know this movie. It's like, this is a knife? No, this is not a knife. This is a knife. Okay, so I think I've got it right. I hope so. And then we'll fix it using these 4 long screws, starting with probably this side here. So we need more space. Okay. What was the name of the movie? If you know the name, then you're always somehow revealing your age. Yeah, that's right. Dave was the first one. Crocodile Dundee. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Is Paul Hogan, does he still live? I don't know actually. I've seen him, I've never saw him since then. I mean, I didn't see any movie besides that movie with him. So I don't know what happened to him afterwards. Is he still, did he make any more movies? Besides these movies? Can't remember actually. Yeah, I mean, he did a second one, yeah. But what then? Probably this was his fortune, that he was just known for these movies and then he disappeared. Okay. Yeah, there was a few copies of the movie. Probably some sequels. Okay. John H. Johnson says plastic is the cheapest alternative and what a bargain. So I see lots of plastic in the future. I'm not sure if I'm getting this correctly. The problem with plastic is plastic is probably not the best material for everything. And I mean, my wife, she has a pretty strong opinion on 3D printing in terms of that we're producing too much waste. And I kind of agree, because since I don't have a way to recycle my materials at the moment, and I do so many test prints and there's lots of failures, then I also throw away a lot of the stuff, and that's probably not the best in terms of the environment. So probably we will have to investigate a little bit more into recycling, how to actually recycle the plastic, maybe grind it and then melt it back into filaments spools. There is devices that can do this. Pretty expensive actually, but I think 2 years ago now, I was on the Formnext. That is a large trade fair for 3D printing more in the professional space. And there's lots of companies who actually offer these kind of recycling machines and of course super professional printers. And then I think there was a company that's called 3D Evo, and they have something that is, can you call this affordable if it's $3,000? But at least this is a machine that does it all. Like there's a grinder that is, I think that's another 1,000. But if you have this combination, then you can grind your printed plastic parts or any even bottles, plastic bottles also, and any kind of waste that you have. That's at least you have to sort it and then probably. So it doesn't get mixed. But then, I mean, for this price, you can make your own filament, and you can also use pellets. So there is solutions, but they are still, it's quite expensive. So why is this frame wobbling? Can you see this? So I think this was happening when I built my first Ender printer, and the reason was that the base frame wasn't exactly flat. So there's a simple solution. You just lose every screw here a little bit, just these did hold the frame together. At least that was what I did for the ender. Just release them a little bit. And then we'll put it on the table. Have it a little bit. Is it flat now? Yeah, seems to be flat. And then we tighten up the screws like you do it on the car. Always just one side and then the diagonal counterpart. And then it should be flat. So this looks okay, I guess. So it's not perfect, but it's could also be the surface. Anything underneath? No. So it's much better now. It's yeah. I should buy a recycler and then you send me your waste materials and then you can make PLA for all your prints. Yeah, I mean, there is a business model for that. There's actually, I think there's shops that do this and recycling. You can send your stuff in and then you pay some, I don't know how much, but you pay for the grinding and they make new filament for you. But it's like with apple juice. Like you bring your apples to the apple juicing factory, but the apple juice that you're getting is not the apple juice from your apples. It's just the equivalent amount of apple juice that. So that's how it works. Yeah. So, and you have to sort your stuff really so it's not mixed. There's no mixed materials, like no PLA mixed with ABS and I don't know how this works. I mean, is this a business model? Can someone really live from that? Not sure. So we would have to calculate what we need to charge for for this kind of recycling. I know, but I don't like these paper clips. That is actually something that, I mean, honestly, I mean, it's not bad. It's not bad, but these paper clips are always an issue in terms of they take away some space, so the nozzle can't go to these areas. And why not have a magnetic build plate in the first place? But yeah, it's probably a little bit more expensive. So I think we should take care of the wobbling print bed soon. Not to forget about it. Next part seems to be that we have to mount a power supply. And the question, I think I saw a question, is this the printer where you give away? Yeah, this printer, I've given it away already. So we're not doing this raffle today. We did the raffle back 2 weeks in a video where I announced it. And in the first 48 hours of that video, I've drawn the winner. The thing is, I will do this the same way now for every giveaway that we'll announce it in a video. And in the first 48 hours of the video going live, you can comment in those videos and there's going to be a new giveaway soon. So this printer here, the Q5, as soon as I'm telling it to you now, so you have a little advantage because you're in the stream, in terms of you know it at least. I'm giving away the Epson Sun Q5 as soon as the review is out, again in the first 48 hours. And then you can also join that giveaway. I think, yeah, well, you will see in the review. It's not a bad device. It's actually pretty good. So, what is the idea here? 2 screws to mount this power supply. Which ones? So, you need to figure out which one is the right one. There is several screws that look quite similar, to be honest. So we have So we're looking for two screws that are 20 millimeters long seams. So let's check it. That's always the good thing if you have a table top that is has millimeters. So there's a screw that is 20 millimeters total, and there's a screw that is 25. So there should be one that is also 25. HM5, this is the one that we used. HM4 by 20, HM5 by 25. There is also screws that have a flat head and also a sunken head. That's why, yeah, so this at least it has to be one of these here. The question is this the longer one? Is this the 25 where the screw, the 21, yeah. Question to the chat. Yeah? If someone tells you the screw is 20 millimeters, what do you measure? Yeah? Do you measure the length of the, can you see this? So these are two different screws. One is 25 total and one is 20 total. But 20 is also, this longer screw is 20 where like the threading is 20, and here the total length of the screw is 20. So which one do we take? If it says HN4 by 20 with this kind of screw. Length without the head. Ben says length without the head. I'm not sure. I mean, we can try out how long it is when it comes out the other side. It's not much. So let's see if we take the shorter one. That's still enough to hold the power supply. It could be, but there's also these locking rings. So I guess if I use the locking rings with the shorter ones, then it's probably going to be too short. So my guess is that Ben is right, and we take the one where the actual thread is 20, and then we apply the locking ring, and then it should be barely long enough to hold the power supply. So this goes to the side, and it's probably just enough to hold this in place. Are we all having fun? Yeah. So I kind of agree. I think this the thread length, and that should be the 20 millimeters. I mean, it's not super critical if it's not the right one, then you can always swap it out. But so let's see. Okay, I think I've got it. Come on. No. I think I've hit the thread. So H. Johnson says the problem with recycling is often it's lower quality and more expensive than the original product. So I guess it will not take, it will not take off because these issues are addressed. I agree. Yeah, this is that's what I heard. That I mean, if you mix two different PLA waste, and then the result's going to be, I mean, the color is maybe one issue where the color is a random color. If you mix up different colors, you don't know exactly what's going to be the final color, and the quality of the material. Yeah, good one. I mean, probably still. I mean, if we could recycle all the the waste that we produce with these printers, and I mean sometimes even things that we've printed a long time ago, and then at some point you say, I don't need this anymore. Should I just, I mean, you can always give it away to some friend, or you can, yeah, if you could recycle this, much better. And then that's why I'm interested. But grinding some of these parts, which are massive and really filled 100%, sometimes I use 100% infill, which is a waste by itself. Of course, it's wasteful, but sometimes you need that and you want that, and then grinding that, that must be a pretty stable machine. Cord says I should just use duct tape. Yeah. Why are we screwing in the power supply in the first place, right? Why not just use tape? Or super glue, maybe. Good idea. Okay. Yeah, Toots also says, yeah, I think we agree that the screw length is starting, like where the flat part of the screw is starting. Then actually, my question would be, if we have this kind of screw, then let's get it closer. If the theory is that the length of the screw is measured by the point where the flat point starts, or where the flat end is, then this one should be actually measured from this side, right? From the flat side, and then the sunken part is already part of the screw length, right? So that should be, that theory is right. Good, next one. Next part of the manual seems to be, it doesn't really tell you what it is, but I know what it is. It is it's the sensor here, the set stop switch in this little bag here. Elmo asks how long I'm doing my 3D printing hobby. Not so long, actually. Probably 3 years now? Or, yeah, probably not much longer than I have the YouTube channel. I think I started building my ANET A8 half a year before I started the channel. And when I started the channel, or the reason was that I got so much great support. I like with Pedro's community. There was such a great community. There is still a large community around this printer, and I got so much good support from the community that I decided, okay, I want to give something back and make these kind of documentations of my builds and explanations how to do stuff, like, for example, installing Marlin, because at that point in time I figured that it was really difficult to find videos that were explaining it correctly. So which screw is this? HM4 by 18. That is probably the one that is shorter. Let's see. Yeah, this is this one. Okay, so the sensor gets fixed here on the side. Okay. Yeah, PLA is supposed to be compostable. If you remember my first videos, or I had some videos back, still online, where I actually had a T-shirt where it says biodegradable, and I got some feedback. This is not true. PLA is not biodegradable, and so this is a discussion you can have. That's why I also went without this claim for I think since over a year now, because I agree with the part that it's not like biodegradable just on its own. So if you throw it into your composter in the garden, it's probably not going to work, especially if it's like in its original size and shape. So you have to grind it first to very little pieces, because to increase the surface area where bacteria can start working on degrading. So it won't simply work if you throw the Banshee into your composter. Nothing will happen. But if you really grind it to very small pieces, then it's at least it can work. But it also needs a temperature around 60 degrees at least, and then probably some additional additional materials or bacteria that are especially eating that, so that are special and really like the material. So it needs a few ingredients to really compost PLA, and I mean it could be an experiment to try actually what is needed to compost PLA. Like what is the environment temperatures you need? What is the mixture that you need with other materials that it works? So maybe I'll try that at some point and see what happens. But I've seen people trying it in the garden, and it never worked. So at least not in a. The other thing is, like, even if you would grind it and throw it into your bio waste, the problem with these bio waste factories is that they have to degrade stuff in a very short amount of time. So, and that wouldn't work. So they need more time, and they don't. That's why they don't accept it. So you can't just put it in your bio waste. It's just not. These factories don't work that way. And you could imagine, like, PLA being made from, I think it's made from, what was it? I think it's made from corn. So, and as that sounds, I mean, this material being made from corn, or basically, of course, it's like, I don't know how it exactly works, but it's like the base for the PLA is biomaterial, so kind of same like biofuel, but corn is like the base for the PLA, but that doesn't mean anything. Like it's not just because of that, it's not so simple to compost it. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's more kind to the environment compared to other filaments. Yeah. But I see, I mean, the biodegrading part is something that the average person is probably not able to do. But it's probably worth an experiment. So the next thing to do is to mount this motor, which is the Z-axis lead screw motor, to this side part. Anyone who did this ever for, like, with the Ender 3 is still very similar. So we're not really too much away from building an Ender 3, at least from what I see here. But this is like, okay, we have another screw type and another hex driver. This goes to the side of the frame. At least now this is the only screw that has a sunken head, or what this is called. So we can't at least confuse this. I mean, I can ask you, did anyone ever try to compost PLA to biodegrade it? Did anyone do any experiments on this? I would be interested if anyone has experience. Or did anyone ever recycle his print materials? Yeah, CNC Kitchen. Yeah, I remember. Because I think Stefan, he tried it. He made, I think he made an experiment with his garden compost, or so. I can't exactly remember if it was his video or someone else. But he wasn't quite successful, I guess, if I remember correctly. Yeah, he left some. Actually, he's really good on making videos with materials and material testing. That is his main domain where he's really focused. Okay, so the motor is mounted. Then we need lead screw. Where is it? Here is it. This looks at least somewhat clean. Most of the lead screws that I've had in the past there was lots of grease on these, which isn't bad, but if you touch it, then it's super nasty, and you have to be a little bit careful what you touch. So let's leave this plastic cover on as long as we don't really need it. Because it's like always the first thing, like you always, every time you're trying to move the frame, then okay. Now you know what I just saw a show, and now you know. What was it about, Dave? Was it about degradation or was it just about parts that are in the car and then they kind of change the size and shape? Eating plastic. Okay, they have a bacteria that's eating plastic. Actually interesting. If we can, maybe I should reach out to them and ask them if they can send some of these. All plastics. Okay, they eat all plastics. That sounds a little bit dangerous. Probably don't want to spill it. Yeah, if you can check it out, I would be interested. Next part in the build is the horizontal arm for the stepper motors, the X-axis carriage. So again, we have some plastic, and again, we're gonna use the knife. Okay. Good. So far, so good. I guess we're on track with the build. Still not very different from any other printer with the same kind of frame. But that's good. I mean, if you already built some printer, then this is going to be familiar. I guess since this has a logo on, then this is the top part, which we need later. And here is the arm that is holding the carriage. This is the counterpart, which the motors. And just need to quickly figure out what the orientation is going to be. This way. What are the odds on it going bang when it's powered on first time? And I should sharpen my knife. Maybe. Never did that. Or not yet, at least. It's quite sharp, but I don't want to test it to touch it. We can test it on some piece of paper. Usually, I think that's the test. Okay, so how do we orient this? This is probably just the same. Just put it. Sometimes, I mean, when I did this for the first time, I was really confused with the Ender 3 because I wasn't aware that to fix this part, you need to screw through these holes here on the other side. So you need to put your driver through here and then put the screws in here, just in between. It's a little bit tricky. That's the only thing that sometimes is confusing. But we can figure it out. So this seems to be 2 pieces or 2 screws that are inserted here. So that's what I mean. You have to insert your screws. Why is it not focusing? What's wrong? Now it's working, no? Okay, so screws goes in here. That's what I mean. You need to put them here inside, and then also the second one. And that was really confusing when I did this for the first time. Like, and then you can screw them. You can tighten them here. There's another 2 holes where you put your hex driver through, and then you can fix it. But even that is a 1-to-1 copy. How it works for the Ender 3. So let's see. Can I do this without the screws falling out? Where is the right driver? These are the questions you are asking yourself. Like, where is the right driver? Oh, the screw has fallen out. Shit. Try again. Hit it with a hammer. Yeah. And another try. So, can you see this? That's what I mean. You're going through this opening here, and then you're tightening the screws from the other side. And then we need some elevator music, please. Yeah, we can. I mean, we can also glue everything, right? Probably not a bad idea. I recently got myself some extra strong glue, and yeah, oh, this is not good here. If you look at this, you can't. At some point, you can't turn the driver anymore. So, this is things that I hate. So, not being able to turn the hex driver, so you always have to start over again. But anyways, I think we can figure it out. And it should be fixed. Yeah. Okay, so let's zoom out a bit so we can see you can see it again. So this part seems to be fixed. What next? Okay, we need the belt. Where's the belt? This was in this here in this little package. So usually you have to run the belt along. We can show it. You usually just take this this part here, and then you run the belt through. Why is it shaking so much? Okay, and then we have to run this belt around the where is it? Here. Here we go. So belt goes around this this part here. Forgot about how it's called. Yeah. So the belt goes around here, and then we have to put it through. That's actually a little bit nasty. So it has to come out here to the side. Then you need to stick it back in here, and then it comes out to the top, which is a little bit difficult. It's quite small, the opening. And this pulley here, yeah, now it seems to work. So that's how the belt goes around the pulley. You see? Teeth to the inside. The gear, yeah, or the pulley. Is it a pulley or a gear? I think a gear is also correct. Good. So what next? Probably we need the carriage that is yeah, so it seems that the carriage is sliding over here, and then we'll fix, yeah, this is really the part that runs along on the other end, on the right hand side. And so we will need this carriage. So here we go. This is the hot end part, and that is supposed to slide over. So just turn it to the right orientation. Okay, so it looks like, okay, this is hopefully the right orientation. So hot end is facing towards me. This one is going to the left, and now it slides over this extrusion. And then we need to run this belt underneath. So question is, should I do it first, or should I, probably I just put it over and then run the carriage, just slide it over. No. That looks actually quite short. I'm not sure. There's no other belt here. But yeah, as I think, okay, the parts look pretty far from each other, so probably fine. So, okay, let's try it this way. And I hope it works. So, on the other side, this will be fixed. So, just need to pull it out of this extrusion again, and then somehow slide it into this slot. Will this work? Okay, so it's going in here. Probably you can see this. From this side the belt comes, then it's just fixed here in this little slot. On the other hand, same story. The belt comes from the right side. You pull it out, and then you have to put it into this little slot here. Then it should be fixed. Probably have to release this one more time. So next part, the counterpart comes in, and this counterpart is, this is where the belt has to go around. And that's funny because the drawing says, if you look at the drawing, the drawing says that we should have a little bit of a loop here when we put this over, but of course, since this is, there's no opening here, it won't work, right? So you have to pull the belt through here before you can actually fix it to this carriage. So that's what I meant. Probably have to release it again, pull it out, and then first run it through this loop and then fix it. The instructions are wrong. Yeah, it seems so. Okay, so I'm running it around these counter pulley, and then I can hopefully fix the whole arm. Yep. Looks good. And this is going to be fixed with another two screws, 4x18. This should be the small ones. Here from the side. Okay. Let's do this. situation normal, yeah. Everything is under control. Everything is under control. Don't stop. Here's nothing to see here. Just go, continue over, continue walking. Don't stop. There was a question, I think it was a little bit up in the chat, like, how is it that Chinese are cloning Chinese now? That's actually a good question. Like, but this is, I think this is normal. Like, there is a market leader who made something, and then I think the Chinese don't really care whether it's a Chinese product they clone. I mean, you can also say that the design is kind of open source, right? I mean, this is not, there's no patents on that and no secret about how this kind of printer looks like. So I don't see there's a difference between a Chinese cloning another Chinese, or if it's cloning a European or US product. Probably besides the fact that there is going to be patents involved if it's probably something from the US or from Europe. Excuse me. It's too cold in the basement. Like, this is always the problem. If it gets warm outside, the heating system goes down with the temperatures for the house, and then the basement is the first thing that actually cools down, although it's not really warm. But it's like, it's regulated by the outside temperature, and that's like, because it's like in the morning it was 16 degrees in the basement. It's not really good for talking and working. That is always the time when it's becoming summer. Then in the summer, actually, I really love to come down here because it's upstairs. It's like sometimes 25 degrees Celsius or even warmer, and then down here it's really cool. So then it's a place where you actually appreciate that it's cool. But this time between winter and spring, it's not really. Heating system has other priorities, I guess. Okay, good. What's the next step? I've kind of fixed the belt. I've fixed the counterpart with the pulley and the, yeah, it's all fixed. Now we can tighten the belt. I mean, it's already not really sloppy or so. It's not. I don't think that we have to be honest. It's already pretty tightened. I mean, we probably can try to pull this part out a bit. So this is how it works. There is unfortunately not a belt tensioner. That is just simply a screw that you can turn. It's really, you have to release this here on the side. There's two screws here that hold this in place, and then you can try to pull this out a bit more, but that is not as easy. I mean, this you have to pull it and then at the same time tighten the screw. So that's why a tightening system, something that helps you, is always the better thing. So not easy. You have to hold it and pull it and then fix the screw. And it's actually a little bit painful. So it's a bit better now. Yeah. What will you print after assembling, a benchy or a vase? We can do a voting, what you like. I don't want to print something that takes hours, obviously, because then you won't see it. But maybe something that is small and not too complicated, so it can be printed in a reasonable time. Let's figure it out. I mean, you can make some. You can probably dig out something that is printable fast. So I think the easiest thing now, since this is still on the I can still turn this. Probably first thing to do, what I want to do is to check this, the tension of this this roller here. That is pressing against the extrusion. So this is always the same how this works. There is this hex nut here, and it's asymmetric. And once you turn it, it starts pressing this roller more or less against the extrusion. And if you turn this hex nut and you turn it in this direction, it's going to press harder against the extrusion, and in the other direction, it's less pressure. And what is the right amount of pressure? Now it's a little bit loose, so it starts wobbling. So if you can't see it, probably if I get it a little bit more loose, then you see it starts shaking. That's obviously too loose, so we need to tighten it a little bit until if you try to move it, it doesn't shake anymore. Now it's probably the right. And if you can still turn this wheel with your hand, yeah, so this is probably the right point. So I can still somewhat turn it without the part moving, and it's still not wobbling around. And then it's probably having the right pressure. You can also tighten it more, but then it's going to wear down faster, and you're going to see this a little bit of rubber coming from the wheel. That's not super bad, but it's, yeah, at some point you will also have to tighten it up when you print a lot. Good. So we did the fixing of all these parts. I've also tightened the belt. What's next? Eccentric nut. Yeah, eccentric. I said asymmetric, yeah, but eccentric is the right word, yeah. So it's like when you turn it, it's like, I think the middle of where the screw is a little bit to the outside. It's really centered, and then that's why it presses differently. Okay. So what is next in the manual? So we're going to slide this over. So I'm taking this whole arm. Now it's the time to remove this. Let's put it here a little bit more to the center so you can see it. Here. So now it's the time to pull this plastic cover off, and it's probably, yeah, there's still some grease. So carefully sliding this whole construction over. And that's also, be very careful. Once I tried this, I've pulled it over, and I pulled actually too hard. So at some point it just, I really cut my hand here, because these are really super sharp edges. So if you're taking this and you're sliding it over and you're doing it too fast, or you're having your hands in the wrong place, you're gonna cut your hand open here, especially at this little edge here. So just a warning from someone who has hurt himself already. And we have to make sure that we get this lead screw in the here in this counterpart, where it should be coming through here. So you have to fiddle it in. It's quite under tension. So probably I will release the screw here at the bottom just a little bit, because it seems to be that it's really tries to move to one side. So just trying to fix this. The problem with these lead screws is if they are not straight, they cause friction. Some there's some people who say, okay, you will have to, you can buy a part or you can print a part where you are trying to keep this top part, this top end of the lead screw in its place. So it's going to hold it. There's going to be either a plastic part or a metal part or a bearing that holds this in place. But the problem is, like, it's not, in my opinion, this is not really necessary. It's not going to change anything, yeah, because if it doesn't move freely, it's going to cause even more friction sometimes. So if it moves freely and if it can shake a little bit, it's not such a big issue, because like this is not like, if this print head is at its very low point and this is going to move around, nothing is going to happen, right? It's not going to influence your prints, because this arm can't go anywhere, right? It can't move to the side, so it's nothing really, not a problem. Good. What is next? So I've put this whole arm that's sliding. We forgot to check this eccentric nut here. That is actually also this one on the other side. So there's two eccentric nuts here. There's two wheels running this arm up and down. And we should definitely check the pressure of these two wheels now, so they are not pressing too hard and not too less. So this one, for example, I can now turn. And now it's just barely turning. So the thing with this side is, because it's like there is no support here, there is no additional lead screw supporting this side of the arm. If the print head goes to the side, and especially if you're in the higher areas of the print, then you're like, the nozzle can scratch, especially on this part of the print. If like it's gonna be a little bit lower, it's totally unavoidable, right? Because this, how this arm is constructed, it's the same with every Ender printer. This side of the arm is always going to be super small amounts, but it's going to be slightly lower. Just because of the weight of this head pushing a little bit down on the arm. And you can probably tighten up these wheels here even more, so especially on the left side where it runs and where it's fixed a little bit better. If you tighten this a little bit more, then it's less likely to move down on this side, yeah, because it's being held in place. But the other thing is, it's always going to be a little bit of a skew, so to say. And then the only way to fix this is probably to have a second lead screw on the side. But for this size of printer, the problem is probably going to be very, very little. You won't even notice most of the time. So, how is the pressure of this rubber wheel? Actually, I always confuse in which direction I have to turn this. Now it's a little less. So, I can just barely turn it. Yeah, it seems that, like, if I have a little bit of difficulties to turn it, but I can still turn the wheel, it is probably fine. The pressure, I think it could use a little more pressure here on this side, just a tiny bit more. Yeah, this is the wrong direction. Okay. Okay, so you can't see this probably, but if I'm trying to move this, it's just going up and down just a tiny bit, and that is the construction. I mean, this is unavoidable with this kind of design. But with the right amount of pressure, it's probably not visible. It's not going to be an issue. Okay, so fixing that seems good. Yeah, Gene Greiner, he says, I pulled my hair with my first Beal Touch until I found Daniel's setup video. Thanks for the feedback. I mean, I've done a lot of videos about Marlin firmware and that Beal Touch setup, and we did a lot of stuff with 8-bit videos, with 8-bit microcontrollers, and nowadays I've turned to 32-bit. And still, every week or so, Marlin firmware changes. And I think my last videos, Ender 3, Beal Touch upgrade, and Marlin firmware upgrade, already outdated, right? Because only 2 weeks later, they changed something in the configurations. This is always kind of an issue. Because I don't have any control over that. And probably every time Marlin development team changes something, I would have to make a new video, which is a little bit of a time problem, I would say. Okay, last thing here, closing the frame. There should be 4 screws left, and there's 4 screws left. The worst thing with assembling anything is if you have any screws left and you don't know why. Or you probably have done this before. You disassemble a machine or anything that you didn't assemble in the first place. Like you disassemble a motor from a car, and then you reassemble it, and then you have 10 screws left or so. Not a good sign. Like, where do these screws belong? Is the car going to work? Maybe it's going to fall apart or explode. Oh yeah, just kidding. So, we have no screws left, so that should probably mean that we did everything right. So I would say from a mechanical point of view, this thing is done. One thing is left. There's still this base part. This is still quite loose, so there is probably these eccentric nuts. I'm trying to say it right. These are probably still to be fixed. So they are, of course, they are on the other side. So let's get them fixed. So you see, the build plate is wobbling around, but nothing to be worried about. So because these, it's just same story as with the other arms. Just trying to fix these wheels, so they have to be pressing a little bit more against the extrusion, and then it should be fine. So this first one seems to be better now. Can you see what I'm doing here? Same story as with the other ones. Here are the 2 eccentric nuts. One is here and one is there, and I'm just tightening them a little bit so these rubber wheels press harder against the extrusion. You just have to figure out which direction. Now it seems to be more pressure. And that's about, I think that's good. So let's probably do the second one. This is a little bit too loose still. So I can't turn it too easily, my opinion. Ah, come on. Oh, still not enough pressure. So I guess if I turn the eccentric nut by 180 degrees or 360, it's going to be the same pressure as before. So let's hope I find the right point of pressure. if I couldn't, then this will be a bad sign. If it's like, if I can turn it by 360 degrees and it's still not pushing, not good. It's super loose now. How is it supposed to work? Seems that I'm doing it in the wrong direction then. This is very strange. This one was in the left direction and this is in the right direction. How is it possible? Okay, seems that it's now quite good. Just a little bit more. No. Still wobbling. Is this a bad sign? Yeah, always the best solution is to hit it with a hammer. So I'm having a little bit of trouble to get this eccentric nut to a point where it's pressing hard enough against the extrusion. Now it's, I think it's okay now. It's not wobbling anymore, is it? So there seems to be one point where it's good, where it's pressing enough at least that it's almost not wobbling around, but it's like I never get it to the point where it's really, really fixed. Maybe now. This is a very tiny spot where it really is good. It's not perfect. Super glue will stop it work. Yeah, come on. I mean, super glue. Okay, yeah. Okay. Come on, Elegoo, what's happening with your printer? Why is it not working? Why is it not able to be fixed? You can hear this. It's not fixed. It's the eccentric nut. I mean, there is probably this point where it should be pressing. So let's try 180 degrees. Come on. Yeah, now someone's telling me there's an eccentric nut on the other side. Is it? Is there another one? I will check. No. No, there is no eccentric nut on the other side. So we have to work with this one. And if it can't be fixed, then it can't be fixed. Which is, it's not perfect. Like it's, let's double check the other one. But that one, the first one here in the front is good. It's not moving. But this one is just a tiny bit too loose. No, okay, it seems that it's not getting better than this. Unfortunate. Let's see if how, yeah, I mean, it's just a tiny movement of the frame. So it's like, I don't know how much, but it's like, and at this side here, at this inner side, it's moving by maybe 0.5 millimeter or maybe 1 millimeter. I have to double check later. Maybe I'm missing something, but there's definitely no other eccentric nut here on the other side. So if this one can't be fixed, then it can't be fixed. The reason, I don't know. Or maybe it's the rubber wheel is just defective, too small, too narrow. No, this is just getting worse. Last try before we start printing something. But I think I can't find a point where it's actually perfect. Not possible. It's just getting worse, any direction. There's one point where it's okay, but not perfect. Yeah, it's how it is. So let's not waste more time with this. Good. Yeah, I mean, what could be the reason? Probably if we swap out the rubber wheel, it might be fixed. Maybe it's just a little bit too small. It's a production issue. I have just a spare set of these wheels here, so we can just swap it out. But I mean, it's probably not gonna stop us from doing a test print, right? So we just remember that this is an issue. So next thing here is connecting all the cables. So I'm starting here with the power cable. Your comments are so funny. I mean, there's so many of them. Definitely will complain with Elegoo. And like as I said, I mean, we are gonna send this to the giveaway winner. So that's Esker Westberg, and he should get a printer that's working, right? So he shouldn't get a defective thing. So I want to make sure that this thing works, and then if I put it back into the box, that it's in a shape where he can just go and start printing. So let's connect all the cables, starting here with the Z-axis motor. Here on the other side, there is, you can't see this at the moment, but I can show it. Here is a little plug, very small plug that goes into the sensor here. Then other side looks good. I think there is no cables to be connected here. And this part goes to the different motors here on the X carriage. So first one, let me see. So X motor. This is the X motor. So this cable goes to this plug. Just put it in the right direction. Okay. This one is for the extruder. So here we go. They are all labeled with little, with these little yellow markers. So this goes to the extruder motor. Then what is this? Filament detector. This is this part here that's just sits next to the extruder. Plug in here. And this is probably the end stop switch, which is somewhere. Probably this is actually a difficult to reach plug. This is very far inside. So how do we get this plugged in? For small hands, probably easy. So okay, so it seems to be plugged in now. Any cables left? doesn't look like. So no cables left to plug. Here is the filament tube, the PTFE tube that is supposed to be pushed in here into the extruder motor until you hit the end. Do we have some stoppers here? Yeah, it seems to be that there's 2 additional parts here. Actually quite important. These are just little clamps or U-shaped plastic parts, and if you push them over this this inlet here, it's not going to move anymore. So because the way how you can release this PTFE tube is, if you take this off, you can push this in, and then once you push this in, you can pull out the PTFE tube. Now, the problem is with the constant moving of the filament inside of this tube, it can cause at some point this tube coming out. That's going to be a slow process over time, but it's definitely going to move. And that's why you secure this this ring here, so it doesn't move anymore once the filament start moving the tube. And the same is already applied here at the extruder, so it doesn't come out. That's actually, this is not here at the hot end. The problem can be that once this filament tube comes out, just a tiny bit, there's going to be a gap between this tube and nozzle, and then you have some blockage. Because then the filament can go in between, and then at some point it's going to cool down, and then it's going to block your printer. It's not going to print anymore. There's a clog. Okay. If it wouldn't be 3D printing, you didn't have to fix the printer. Has anyone tried Polymaker's new Polyterra? No, I didn't try. Any more interesting questions? Yeah, so I think we have done everything that we have to do. All the cables are connected. The only problem left is really just this lid plate moving slightly. And maybe we have time later, but now I don't want to spend more time on this. So let's, I'm gonna leave this protective film on the display, because if I send it to Asker later, and I'm not using any zip ties, so I'm also gonna keep them so he can really fix this when he gets the printer. Power supply, it's black, yeah. Elmo says he likes it. I also like the finish. Like from a quality perspective, maybe let's have a look at this. So from a quality point of view, this looks quite sturdy. It looks a little bit more massive than Ender, but it's probably due to the fact that this extrusion, especially this side here, is closed, and that makes it look like it's more solid, but it's probably the same. It's just probably the look and feel, yeah, because these surface areas, they aren't open like they are normally with these extrusions. It just looks a little bit sturdier, but I think it's probably exactly the same. Still, if you remember at the beginning, we had some slight frame wobbling, but it's gone. So I was just about, probably it's also my table. Now it's wobbling, and this way it's not. So probably also my table, but at the beginning it was really a lot, so I had to release these side screws here and then push it down. It was probably the only reason. So last thing here. Did we forget about something? No. Only thing left is the filament spool holder. How is it fixed? So probably we're gonna keep it on this side, or which direction? Good question, actually. If the filament has to go in here, where did I want to mount this? Yeah, okay. To the left. Okay, let's keep it that way. It's gonna be facing to the left. I'm trying to put it as far left as possible, right? So I'm putting it to the very most, it's actually still a little bit strange how it should work. So probably I'm not having it in the right direction. And there's something inside here. Ah, this is, there is a little needle inside here. And this needle is to unclog your nozzle. And they just put it here inside of this tube. And there's just some plastic foam to protect it. And I'm going to keep it here on the side. So this can be used to unclog your nozzle. So I did it the wrong way in the first place. So it needs to be screwed in from the other side. Little, not very intuitive, but it seems logical. So the spool is actually here on the back where the inlet is and not to the other side. Still, the filament needs to go down in a curve. That is probably not such an issue when the printer is printing here in the lower area, but once it comes up, the curve is going to be even smaller, and probably you need to print some kind of a little arm that holds away. Let's just make sure that the filament is held away from this inlet so it doesn't really crack. So, final thing here, if we find the right hex driver, which is somewhere on my table. Yeah, it's always the last one, of course. So, releasing the screws a bit. And then we can tighten it up again. So, it should be fixed now. Is it a side mount spool holder? Good question. From the instructions, it doesn't look like. So instruction says it's going to be on top and to the side. And you're right. I personally prefer it to be on the side because then it's less stressful for the filament. So it's going to be a less bent curve that it has to go. But yeah, good question. We can try. Why don't we just try it out? We can also try to mount it to the side, but not on the vertical extrusion, of course, because then it's gonna block. You can't mount it here, right? Because then it's gonna block your arm from moving. And can it be mounted to the side? Maybe, maybe this way, but not really. Maybe this way. It could probably be mounted here. It could be, but the problem seems to be that it's just a little bit too large. So this corner here it's sticking out to the bottom of the printer. So if you want it this way, it's actually not a bad idea. Like this way, this could actually work. So if I put it here, the spool would be in a good position, but then it sticks out to the bottom. So this edge here, you can cut it off maybe and try that. Or you just print a new arm for it. Then I think it's always good if you have the space on your desk to put the arm to the side. It's gonna make your printer wider, but it's gonna have less, the filament is gonna bend less when it's going into the inlet. Okay. what's going on in the chat? Would you recommend enabling the power loss recovery on the Ender 3 Pro? Good question. Is it a good idea? Did anyone try this yet? Power loss recovery is always a bit of a questionable feature. It works. Most of the time, how it works is it writes the position of the printer. Basically, the print status, where it is in the current print, it writes it to the SD card, and it has to do it. It has to do it multiple times during a layer print, so it can't just do it once per layer. It will do it multiple times per layer, and I don't know actually how often. But the fact is, because it's writing so often the position to the SD card, over time the SD card can just fail. And I don't know how long this is going to take, but it's probably not the best way to solve this issue. There's better solutions. There is for some main boards, for I think for the newer Ender mainboards, for the newer Creality mainboards, there is a module available that is basically has a huge chunk of capacitors on it and a cable that goes back to the mainboard, and it's also connected to the power. So once the power is going down for the printer, these capacitors are fully charged. They're gonna drive the printer just long enough to send a signal over this cable and tell the printer firmware, hey, power is going out. Move the nozzle to the side and save the position to the SD card. I think that's a much better solution, but it's another upgrade that you have to buy. And but it's it's a quite simple solution if you think about it. It's just having enough power stored in these capacitors, so this side movement and saving will just work. If you use a heated bed, resume doesn't work, the print falls off. Also true, especially the glass plate. The glass plate on the Ender 3v2, just as an example, if that cools down completely, the prints just, sometimes they pop off super easy. Sometimes they are already released from the plate, totally right. So resuming won't work. With this surface here, it's it's a BuildTech clone or plastic surface. Normally these kind of plastic surfaces are sticky enough, so prints will even stick at room temperature, and you will actually have to bend it to get it released. So most of the time, I would say this is okay. Print resuming will probably work. But glass plate, I don't see that this is gonna work. Especially this newer coated, ceramic coated glass plates, they are supposed to release the parts super easy once they cool down. That's the purpose of the coating, right? And the Ender 3 Pro has this plastic surface, so probably there it will work. I will never go back to glass, PAA all the way. Not bad, I would say. Yes, I agree. I'm a fan of these powder coated metal sheets. They have this kind of grainy surface that I really like, and they are also super sticky. PEI. Yeah, sometimes it just, with PEI, I had some experiences that it just, if you're not careful and you're probably trying to release the part before it's cooled down, sometimes this just rips apart the sheet. So that is, you have to know what you're doing there. Okay, so I think it's time we should quickly try to print something, because it's already pretty late. Hopefully we can manage to do this. So Of course, I'm not prepared because I have no filament spool here nearby, but okay, power was already turned on, so let's see what the printer is doing. Okay, there seems to be a simple menu here. Let's check it out. Don't wobble around. So, tool, preheat, extrusion, moved, home, leveling. I don't see a leveling probe, so it's probably gonna be mesh bed leveling then. Filament change, actually good. They have a filament change menu, so at least they have this in the firmware. Z offset, okay. Seems to be that they have some kind of mesh bed leveling enabled in the firmware. And here we have fan control. Probably this is continue. No files, yeah. Yeah, continue is probably the power loss recovery function, motors off, language change. And here we have a print menu, and there is nothing because we have no SD card in. So we should put the SD card in. That is coming with the printer. Probably this way. And do we have some files here? Seems that it's loading, but what is it loading? Who knows? No files found. So, okay, so probably I have to check what is on this SD card, because it seems that there is nothing. Seems there is nothing on the SD card, or we have to check. So I'll put it in my computer, just briefly checking what is on this card. There seems to be some kind of G-code file in the main directory, but why does it not show up in the menu? I can shut it down. I didn't see any kind of SD card menu where you can reload. No. Printing. Now we have something. Okay. There is EN2 the Buddha. Who knows? I mean, I think we don't have time anymore to set up a slicer software, slice something, and then this is probably taking too much time, but I can try to print this thing here. Actually nice that it has this preview. Never saw this before. So what else? Probably we should do some kind of leveling. Let's check out what the manual says. Is there any instructions here? Resume printing. We don't want to do this. Special functions. No, I don't want the special functions at the moment. I just want to know if I need kind of a leveling menu, but we'll probably do some initial bed leveling. So, yeah, okay, but we start with the usual. So let's try to home the printer. I think that's a good start. We'll try to home the printer and do the first thing just with the paper as usual. Okay. So, thing to do here is to bring the nozzle just over this, so it's at least at the lowest point, so I don't want to scratch anything, so I'm bringing it down even further. So here again, also on the back side, I'm trying to bring down this bed to its lowest position. So we don't scratch anything. Okay. Question that I have is, does it have some kind of helper menu to move the nozzle to the corners? So it seems that there is a little menu here where I can move the nozzle around. So let's see if that works. If I can move it, for example, to the back corner. Where is it going now? 0.1, okay. Interesting that 0.1 on the menu is actually, it looks like it should be this point, but it's actually that point. So what is 0.2 then? Okay. Okay, so it's like the graphics is a little bit misleading. The graphics is actually looking like, from here, it's actually looking like this is the corner 1, this is corner 2, this is corner 3, and this is 4, but it's not. So, but no matter. I mean, so let's start here in the front left corner. So, how does it look like? Paper is having some contact. Let's quickly do the second. So the first round I'm always doing quickly because we have to do a second one anyways, because it's gonna be skewed and then it's not going to be perfect in the first place. And this is actually quite low. Wow, okay, I have to bring it down quite a lot. How? Let's see. This seems to be challenging. Probably I need to bring up the sensor a bit. It seems to be that I have to lower the bed quite a lot. So what I'm going to do instead, I'm going to turn off the printer and bring this whole thing up a little bit. So the sensor can be moved a bit, and I think I set it too low. Just a tiny bit, because I can't bring down this corner anymore. So it's really at the lowest point and it still had contact with the nozzle. So I have to bring up this sensor just a tiny bit, maybe 2-3 millimeters. Let's try about 2 millimeters higher, because then if I just, this one here, I mean, the set and stop switch, if I bring it a little bit up, I can increase the distance of the nozzle to the print surface, because actually I've tightened these screws up very much now. Probably it doesn't go any further. Let's try again. So, tool, leveling, 0.1. Hey, Peter. Peter sending some thanks that I'm featuring his diamond filament. That's true, because here it is. I've used this diamond filament in a print with the FSUN Q5 and also some board holders, some brackets, and it's a very strong filament. And the good thing about it is it can be printed with any printer, and it's stronger than PLA, even stronger than PLA Plus, and it's still, I mean, it's a little bit more expensive than normal filament, but it's good. It's really sturdy. You can bake it in the oven, and then you can have even stronger materials. So, did I set the center up too much? So we probably have to release all these screws first. I probably did a little bit too much now. So, let's see. Squeezing. It's absolutely possible that I set up the sensor now a little bit too high. Probably will have, I don't want to play around too much with this. We want to get started with printing, right? So I'm releasing the pressure here. Okay, 0.3. And bringing up the bed also here. Point number 4. A little bit hard to reach the display when the bed is just over it, but it's going to just in the bed leveling necessary. So here we have a little bit too much contact. And that's why when we come back to the first point, probably we'll see that the contact is different than when we started, because the whole surface is skewed. Like if you release the other corner, the counter corner, it's going to be different now. So let's see. Yeah, now it's too much. It's pressing on the surface, so we have to try this again. Okay, next point. It's also pressing too much. That's the point with bed leveling. You have to do several rounds if you really want some perfect start. If you just do it once and you think it's done, it's not done. It's always at least 2 rounds, probably 3, just to double check the result. If it's really equal in every corner. And okay, let's see if that is good. Then we'll do another one, the last one, and see if everything is good. Yeah, seems okay. Some minor adjustment here. And number 3. That's good. Number 4. And the printer didn't blow up yet. Just wanted to say that. Okay, back. Middle point. Okay, so that's always interesting. If the middle point is much different. So now the paper is very loose. So how much is missing? Not much. This is the problem with doing a bed leveling if you don't have mesh bed leveling. I did the corners like really perfectly in my opinion, and now the center point is still, it's not getting real contact with the nozzle. So what to do now, right? So if you don't have mesh bed leveling, you can't fix it, except just releasing these 4 screws a little bit more. And then if you have a really large part, it's going to have more pressure in the corners than in the middle, because that surface seems to be a little bit going down in the middle. So you have to find that sweet spot. Probably I'm going to just release every screw here by a notch. And now it's in the center is actually quite good. Tightening it up a bit. So it seems it's not really super critical in this, not really bending a lot. Seems okay. So next we'll finish the leveling. And now what we can try is to load some filament in. I have some spare. I mean, this is also some sample filament, I know, but I don't want to leave you now. So let's use this yellow filament so we don't have to touch the one that's coming with the printer. And I hope that this is going to work. So the first thing to do here is the filament needs to enter the sensor here on the side. I think you can see it. Comes out on the other side and then has to go into the extruder inlet. I can see a little bit of an issue here, just minor, but we can zoom in. The problem is, it's tiny, but it's probably over time can cause issues. The filament is going into this inlet, but it's not perfectly aligned. So you can probably see this, right? So it's coming in here, and the straight line would be just a little bit to the left here, but it actually has to make a little curve into the inlet, just slightly. And that might cause some issues. Might be that in the long run it will wear out this inlet because that's plastic, right? It's not like the Ender 3 Pro. If you know the Ender 3 Pro here, it has a metal part for the inlet. Actually the same as here the sensor. So the sensor itself has a metal inlet, but the actual extruder doesn't have a metal inlet, and because this part's really gonna be pushing to the side, it's probably wearing out that inlet. So just something to keep in mind for the long term. And that's gonna also cause some plastic. I mean, there's gonna be some plastic debris being scratched off here, but these are things that have been basically on the Ender 3. Same issues on the Ender 3 since the beginning. And so we can push through the filament here to the nozzle. And I'm gonna heat up, preheat to 200 degrees maybe. And then let's start the test print. Manual bed leveling is more of an art than an exact science. Yeah, that's true. But it shouldn't be, right? It should be it should be easier, in my opinion. It's the whole process. We discussed it with Pedro in the beginning. The main problem with 3D printing is that it's still too complicated for a lot of people. There are so many barriers where people fail, software. Actually, I think not many people struggle with the hardware side of things, because that's kind of like, if you're used to tinker and repair stuff, and then you're most probably going to be fine with building this kind of printer and cables, and so most people are fine with that. But once it goes to the software side of things, then this is probably for a lot of people it's first time they actually touch any kind of software build process, for example, with modern firmware. So developers are really rare compared to builders, right? And that's why software is always an issue. And software is like, to be honest, all these printers are super similar, and the only differentiation is going to be through the software. It's going to be the features of the software, the ease of use of slicer software, of printer menus. That's going to make the difference. Something like Pedro mentioned, like printer being connected to the internet, being able to print something, just selecting visually an object and saying, I want to print this, and nothing else, it's going to be a software thing. It's not going to be a hardware thing to solve this issue, because the hardware can print, right? It's not a hardware problem. It's really how clever is the software, how clever is the dialogue, how easy it's going to be to understand what's happening. Where is this part coming from? Is this coming from the internet? Is it going to be sliced on a web server, and you don't have to care because the software knows the printer, it has all the profiles, so it's a software problem. Yeah. Porphyrius says 3D printers are not for the faint-hearted or anyone with no patience. Totally, both is true. Both is true. I actually got surprised by my first Delta printer, the Sun Q5. I didn't really think about print speed so much, to be honest. I don't care so much about print speed. Probably one thing that I want to notice here or tell you, I started the preheat, but it doesn't show me anything on the menu. So let's show it to you here. So the menu doesn't show any data. So another software thing, right? I started the preheat and I can't see what is the temperature. I can only go back to the preheat menu and then it shows me the temperature, but I can't see it when I'm on the start page. Like on other printers, you at least see the temperature of the nozzle, the bed, maybe some precision information. That's nothing here. So heat it up, we can push through the filament. Okay, I can see there was some black filament in there before, obviously. So they did some testing. And so, let's pull it back a bit. So yellow filament is coming out. And now let's go to the, let me see. Let's go to the printing menu and print this Buddha. Confirm. So, showing us here on the menu this little Buddha. You can see it here. So at least that shows us some information. Print time, temperatures, some Z value, probably current Z position in the print. We have some options here, probably, yeah, temperature change, fan speed change, filament change, so that's good. If you're running out of filament, speed setting, and that's it. I don't see a tune menu here, so usually what I would at least hope for is some kind of tune menu when I'm printing, because when you're printing and you figure that you did your job well with the paper and you did the right distance and you were starting a print, and then you realize that it's too far away from the print bed. Usually you have kind of a brim or a skirt around the object, or some kind of start stream where the filament is just like pushing out of the nozzle to free the nozzle from any debris, or actually to show you the distance, if it's good. If you can't tune the distance, then this baby stepping or fine tuning, you will have to use the knobs to do that in real time, right? And then you're like basically changing the bed leveling again, which I don't really want to do. That should be something that should be in the firmware. Again, a software thing, because it's just, yeah, it's just that. It's not hardware problem. So it's doing something, so we should look at it. What is happening? Let me see. What is happening? Okay, so the first stream of filament is coming out. Let's position our printer here. And it starts to print. And here in the middle, yeah, it's pressure. The pressure is probably quite high, so it's. I don't want to change it now. It seems that it's squeezing a bit, but it's still under control. Probably I should have done less pressure, but a little more distance here. But it's, yeah, that's still okay. So we can probably just turn these knobs a tiny bit. Yeah, that looks much better. So a little bit less pressure. Problem with these kind of build plates is if you have too much pressure and you are, let's say you're stopping the print right now, and this is a very, very, very thin layer of filament on this first layer, and you're stopping now, then you're gonna get a really hard time to get this off, right? So, because I see there is a little bit of squeezing now, and this plastic surface is hot, so I would actually start printing a few layers now on top if I would decide to stop and at least wait for another layer. And then it's easier to release because then you have some kind of connecting layers that are releasing much easier. Otherwise, it's going to be, sometimes things going to stick on the build plate and it's going to be hard to release this without some kind of spatula or even a sharp edge. And then you might destroy the surface. So looks okay. Unfortunately, I can't show you this from the side. I can try to zoom in a bit more. But it starts printing. Printing a few first layers now. So what happens if I'm hitting the pause menu just for fun? Okay, moves it out of the way. So you can see, let's have a look at the first layer. That looks good. You can see here, this was a little bit too close. It squeezed quite a lot into the surface, so probably not easy to get this off. But this after I've changed the distance a bit, I've increased the distance, it looks much better now. It looks pretty clean. So let's just continue. And that's, yeah, how long is it going to take? Probably too long for you to wait for it. It seems that the printer is pretty silent, so you can only hear the fans, and they aren't really so loud, to be honest. So I'm pretty close to the printer now with the microphone. And it's not really, I mean, I can really not hear a lot of noise, which is good. Yeah, good suggestion. What I will do, I'll just leave it printing now because probably it's gonna take an hour or two maybe. I can't really tell you how long this test print is gonna take, but we should put the result in. I'm gonna take some photos and attach them to, I'm gonna link them in the description of the video once it's going live. So when we stop the stream, it's going to be live. And I'll eventually link these pictures, and we're also putting the links to the pictures, or the pictures, posting them in the Discord channel. If you're not part of our Discord, you can always join it. There's a link in the video description in every video where it says join our Discord. You just click on that link and then you're gonna be taken to Discord. You just have to register once using your email, and you're gonna be part of that chat group where you can also ask questions and be part of the community. Thanks for mentioning that. And TMC 2225, yeah, that could be. They are really silent, so the motors are not making any noticeable sounds here. One last thing that I can test, we can just cut the filament, right? Why don't we do that? Just cutting the filament. So what happens now? At least it should stop and ask for more filament. So filament is already gone from the inlet, so it's probably at some point now in a second or so, it should recognize that it's out of filament. Yeah, Peter, go to the Discord. We have a really great community there. It's a few hundred people. Probably not everyone is active all the time, but there's always people coming with questions, and we could do more, to be honest. Okay, now okay, you hear it. Filament detection switch is not pressed. Okay, I was just confused. It says filament detection switch is not pressed. Confirm. Okay. Okay. Yeah, what is the expectation now? What should I do now? I can only show you the menu. So what is showing up on the menu now is filament detection switch is not pressed. Yeah, fine. But if I press it, it just doesn't go away. Beep, beep, beep. Exactly. And am I now supposed to pull this filament out? Because the strange thing was, the printer actually has a filament change menu. So my expectation would be transport the filament out now, but it doesn't do it. So that's actually not an easy job now. How should I... What is happening? Is it cooling down? Just curious if the nozzle is cooling down now. No, it seems not, but it's impossible to move the filament backwards because it's stuck in the sensor. Gonna cut it one more time. Phew. Okay, so there's a little rest here. We can try to pull it out now. Okay, so it's out. Unfortunate that they don't have a filament function that tries... these sensors are sometimes difficult in that regard. If you have a fixed sensor like this one, sometimes it's just not possible for the filament to go backwards. It's gonna be... I had the same problem with my... Now we have some new fresh filament in. Confirm. Okay, so it seems that it's continuing to print. So the filament change works, however, not automatic. So you have to pull out the filament yourself, and you have to push the new one in. So on my ANIT A8 and also on the Ender 3, I have a filament sensor that's just a bearing, and the switch is pushing against the bearing. But every time the filament is going to be released, so the motor is pushing out the filament when the detection happens, the sensor is also pushed to the side. Yeah, it's not fixed, and that's why it works. So I didn't fix it intentionally, because sometimes it really gets stuck in the sensor, and then the sensor is pushed to the side. The filament is somehow unwinding to the side, and that somehow works. But here, when the sensor is fixed, there's no way to go back, and so this is a construction problem, I would say. Unfortunate. I would actually prefer to have something that is dangling around, a sensor that's just not fixed here. We can, nothing is stopping us from releasing the sensor and just moving it. Just it hangs here, and then at some point when the filament runs out, there is no problem with the motors pushing it out. Can be fixed with a hacksaw. Court is like, he has some good ideas today. It's gonna some constructive Constructive, destructive ideas. Doesn't the default M600 push the filament out of the extruder? I think that's a configuration thing. You can configure whatever you want there, and I have my doubts. I don't think this is Marlin firmware. Okay, good. Print is continuing as it should be, and I think with this, because we don't have anything more to show, I can only tell you what's happening next with this device. As soon as we have the test prints done, I'm gonna pack it back into the box, send it to our giveaway winner, and then we're on for the next video. And next time, in 2 weeks, I'll finish this video for the FSUN Q5, and we'll have another giveaway. We give away this printer. It's a really good printer. It's surprisingly fast. That's what I can tell you. So don't miss that video. It's in 2 weeks. Same story as with this one. 48 hours after video goes live, you can just put your comment in the video with with your location, and then you can be part of the giveaway. So I think we will have more of these this year. And then I still have to do the Prusa. I still have to do the Prusa Mini. So I have a few things to do the next weeks. It's gonna be some work for me. Yeah. Okay, so I think with that I'm close it. We are almost at 3 hours, the longest stream ever. It was a lot of fun having you all here. And as I said, I'll post the pictures in the Discord channel and also put some links to the pictures in the description of this video when it's published. And then I'll see you in the next one on Sunday. Most probably on Sunday, we'll have a new video coming that is about the Beal touch on the Ender 3 V2. And as I said, the week after FSUN Q5. So see you soon, and thanks for coming. And you can always re-watch this once it gets published. Now it gets through the algorithm, and then once it's done, then you can re-watch the stream. So thank you all for coming. It's been a lot of fun with you. A lot of fun building this printer. First time. Please hit the like button if you liked what we did here. Give your comments if you have some suggestions or ideas how to improve. But live builds probably are going to be always kind of long, so I think I can't make it faster. Okay, see you soon, and we'll close it. Bye bye. Good evening, good night to everyone.